host. It's Jessica Koch. I am back again. We have done more than one interview today. It has been a hot day. I hope you're having a fantastic week. I am your host, Jessica Koch, and this show is Profound Professionals. We have been bringing you this interview series for 7 years. Can you believe it? I know, it's so many years. So we are grateful to you. Without you, there is no show, for liking and sharing. And we're also grateful to our amazing guests that have come from all over the world, and they help improve your personal life or they can help you grow your business. And Antasia, I got it right, I think, is a published author on Barnes and Nobles, and she has some interesting stories and information to share with us, and she is our guest today. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much for having me, Ms. Jessica. I appreciate it.
I love doing this. This is one of the favorite parts of what I do every day is meet amazing, beautiful humans from all over the world. So tell us, usually I wait to get to the book on our guests later in the show, but talk to us about your journey, how you got
Sure.
your
Yeah.
to Noble, wrote
Okay.
about. Talk to us about the book.
I will. Okay. So I actually had I guess, an unconventional route to becoming published on Barnes and Noble. I had been, well, I guess I should say I had been wanting to write for some time a book, a novel. And I guess, didn't have enough experience. I wanted to do it originally, maybe around like 2008, when I originally first went off and away to college, which was at the University of Toledo. But for whatever reasons, I just did not have enough experience. So I kept kind of writing all these weird type of chapters and putting it away. And so that's like around 18, and I'm about 34 now. So by the time I sat down and wrote, I had kind of sort of different journals, like a stack of journals like this high. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with all of these? I had just had so many experiences. I just started to write like crazy, and it just started to just pile up. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just try to write the novel now. And it ended up going so long to actually becoming like kind of sort of a memoir. So that is what's published. And it is called the Route 60 Memoir, Written with Love, Sapphire. And so originally I thought that I was probably just going to find an agent or somebody, which no, that did not work out. And I also thought, I guess in a sense, someone was going to help me do it. That was somebody outside of my family with the loyalties and things like that lying in certain places. But it was not. It was never a job. There was nobody who hired me, no paychecks. It was just strictly a family member who did something and ended up having that opportunity come to myself. And it was somebody I think called Outskirts Press or something like that. I had been watching and eyeing for like years on end, trying to get this kind of sort of avenue to work out, and it just never did until maybe a few years ago. I want to say like maybe 2022. And since then, I finally became published and kind of scratched that little goal and dream off. So that's the little spiel about how that came to be.
And tell us, what else do you do? So you have,
yes.
Talk to us about the other
So
things.
there's only a few other things that I'm going to mention. So for one, it's going to be the published books that are on Barnes and Nobles right now. You just put in the name, Antasia Shabria Armour, and they'll pop up. It's only about maybe 4 or 5 completed works up there. And then after those, I also work as a saleswoman in Nordstrom as well here in Beechwood, Ohio. And I've been there for maybe going on 6 months. I've been there originally as a rehire, but it's been very fun. I'm sure we'll get into that area of things according to professionalism in a little bit. But as well, I also started to run my own business around 2020 when Trump kind of sort of came into office. And since then, it's just been kind of finding the right websites, how to necessarily build a clientele, what platforms are most appropriate for things I think about and meditate on and things like that. And that's really been what my journey has been about so far, on my own, with my own thoughts and thinking patterns and things like that. And I really haven't really took it and did much else with it besides focus on those 3.
So I love that. Yeah, that's it sounds like you have an exciting and interesting journey. Could you share with our audience a tip of something they could do today that would help improve their lives from your experience?
I guess I will go with something like based around having like your effort. I know it's like we constantly don't really want to do something, and it's like you have to really pay attention to how you kind of sort of interpret what's going on around you. And if you don't really do those things, I think it's going to kind of sort of get harder. Like if I can just sit down for a second and get ready to move forward. But without a certain thought there, I really don't think it's going to happen. So if I don't pay attention to what I'm thinking about, it's necessarily going to pass me by. And I don't necessarily really want that to happen. So my tip most likely is just to pay attention to your surroundings. And if it's something that you don't want to do, just let it go by. Don't stop. Don't chase it down. Don't be that person. Just be clear enough to say, if that's where it is, let it keep on going.
I love that. That's the best I can say. Kind of a step back and be observant, kind of pay attention to what's happening. Right. And then be focused on what opportunities you want to go for and what goals are good for you. That's beautiful advice. Thank you for that. So one of the reasons we love this show is bringing great people like you to everyone watching. And we thank you who are watching for sharing and liking and commenting, because you just don't know who needs to read her books and hear her story and hear those amazing tips. But we also love to take a moment and talk about a cause that is close to your heart. So what's something that you care about, that you support either in your community or in the world at large?
Yes. Okay. So there's two. So I wasn't even going to really mention this one much, but it has saved me quite a bit. They both have. So the first one is going to be a church that I belong to. So it's Providence Baptist Church. I joined them originally around 2015, I want to say in December. And it was been a very difficult journey, but a very rewarding one. So I really thought that was a really good thing, because it seems like once you take a certain leap, it's like everything is kind of sort of in alignment, on the stars are all aligned. But it's really like a very rewarding thing, in a sense that if you just stick with it in the end, that's what I find so rewarding about that. At least this is what my experience has been for myself. And then if I want to give another one that I really care about quite a bit as well, is going to be the Greater Cleveland Food Bank here. Sometimes I find myself like stressing out, and I'll be like, well, what is wrong with me? When I think about when I've actually had a moment to really give of things to other people who are in need or less fortunate and things like that, I really feel like a settling spirit, and I feel calm. And it hit me really hard one day, most of all. And so those are my top two.
I love that. And, food, I hope this inspires you to look at the local food banks in your community, the different organizations in your community that support you and uplift you spiritually or emotionally, and just are an anchor for the community. So maybe you'll be inspired to do something kind for someone else, give time, treasure, or talent to amazing cause. But hopefully, at very least, you're inspired to hit that share button so that we can inspire someone else to do something great outside of themselves. If we just reach out into our community, into the world, and take care of each other, it's already an amazing place to live. It will just be that much better for everyone. So I am a very big book lover. They're all around me. And I mentioned to you, I am making the ultimate book list of all of our guests who come. So of course, we're going to be featuring your books like we talked about, but what's a book not written by you that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business?
Yeah, so I'll definitely do well. Okay, if I pick one, I guess I'm going to keep it the same. It's going to be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It was a book from my father, my own dad, and his name is Ronnie. And I think I was probably around 16 when I first got this book, and I had a sweet 16 birthday party. My mom had threw it for me in like our local area up here where we are in Cleveland, Ohio. And he came to visit, I believe, from Indianapolis at that point in time. And he knew, I guess, how much it affected him. So he wanted to share with that, I guess, feeling was with myself or his daughter. So he ended up taking us to, I want to say, Barnes and Noble. And he ended up finding the book and buying it, and gave it to me as a gift. And so he signed it, wrote like a nice caption in and everything like that. And I read it so much, I actually kind of sort of just had it fall, and it was just pages were just coming out. It was just going just all over the place. So eventually, I guess I did get rid of it, but I ended up buying another copy. I have the second one here now. So it's just one of the pieces that always just stick out most is like, I think 26 enemies of man, and it's like falsehood, vanity, insincerity, deceit, indecision, hypochondria, laziness, like just anger, like, and it's just a whole, and it just tells you how to check them all off as you go, and like keep a list of them, which actually at one point I did make a list. And I always think, like, even today, I think I did it. I was saying something, or maybe the other day, yesterday, it's like something about a falsehood. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm sure it's something that took place as an experience, and it made kind of sort of me think about some of those things in that way. And so that's definitely what the power of this book is. Yes.
Can you imagine what kind of world and country we would be building if all of the teenagers in the school systems were to receive this book and receive training on this book and the mindset that goes with this book?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the mountains we could
Oh
move
yeah.
and the
Yeah.
world,
Unlimited, right?
yeah, the world we could form. That is such a classic. I
That's
love that you
amazing.
brought
Yes, it is.
that one up. And
Oh yeah.
before we move on to the final segment, is there anything else about yourself or your books or your business that we didn't get to touch on that you'd like to share with everyone listening?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just, like you say, if everything could be as smooth, I guess, as we sometimes imagine that it can be, or that it could go, or that it should be, or that most likely feels right because it is right, but we kind of sort of fail to do those things. It's almost like, Napoleon Hill says it really great. We affront our creator. We choose to affront our creator by practicing in this behavior. And I hate to be that person that just says this about, our culture overall, generally speaking, but it has to be said. And so that's something that I feel like, when I think about things, when, I'm just pondering the things that I've seen or witnessed, or however, most of these things build upon what I'm even typing. So if you see something on Barnes and Noble and, oh, where did this passage come from? It's from something that actually happened, whether it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. When I originally started writing the memoir, in particular speaking, people, like, I was going to school and just get ready to graduate, and I actually did graduate, but I was being told certain things about how they just don't want you to do things in chronological order, or be able to kind of sort of just pinpoint, like, I was born here and then I ended up living and doing this, and just go from birth to like on up. So it was odd that it was so true that at the point in time, it was almost like unbelievable how true it was. And so when you sit down and actually take that time out to understand what was being said, and how that thought is really kind of sort of manifesting itself, so to speak. Because when I think about exactly how I formed the book, it actually starts, I want to say, around 2011, and not necessarily like 1989 when I first came out the coochie, or the womb, or was born, so to speak, right? And it's odd that people are so honest about like how boring that is, until you actually go through those things and you understand it's about what's being said. And so that, I guess, that does take a bit of growing and a bit of experimenting with life on its own, versus necessarily just thinking something, and not necessarily taking the time out to actually think if you learned what was being said or not. So yeah. With that being said, that's probably the whole general gist of it. Yeah.
Well, that was definitely a mouthful. And if you're watching,
right? Thank you.
And you're thinking, wow, I'm an industry expert, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I can help someone improve their life or grow their business, maybe I should be on the show. I think you should be too. Reach out to me and our team, and we will feature you, as we have featured this beautiful guest today to share with us her journey and her experiences, which have been wonderful. Now, before we say goodbye, we're going to get a final piece of information or inspiration. So what do you have for us as we close out the show?
Well, I think I'm just going to go with something from the heart. Just be true to yourself. We can be all kind of things, but if we fail to be necessarily who we're meant to be, I think we do ourselves an injustice, as well as our community. But most of all, most likely ourselves. Mm-hmm. And, as Napoleon Hill say again, I got to brush his teeth, I got to comb his hair, you know what I mean? So that's really no truer words than that. So that's all I'll say.
Yep, show up and be the very best version of yourself that you can be because you deserve it, right?
Hey.
And so does the world and the community. Thank you so much. I hope you've had as much fun on this interview as I had. It's just been lovely to have you. And again, you know the drill. I'm your host, Jessica Koch. This has been Profound Professionals. And until next time, I will say, as I always do, be kind to yourself, everybody, and be kind to each other. Bye now.